Welcome into Golden State Warriors today here on Chat Sports. I am Chase Senior, and I hope all of you watching are having an awesome week. Let's talk some Dubs basketball, and I want to kick off today's show by getting into Jordan Poole because since the All-Star break, he really emerged as a legitimate scorer for the Warriors, and he figures to have a pretty big role on next year's team even when Klay Thompson returns. And he got a lot of respect across the NBA because he did receive votes for the Most Improved Player of the Year award that eventually went to Julius Randle of the New York Knicks. Andrew Wiggins on the Warriors also received some votes. And the whole conversation that we're going to have here is just surrounding the fact that Jordan Poole emerged as a legitimate scorer once he got called back up to the Warriors from the G League, and he's drawn praise from Steph Curry, Steve Kerr, as well as general manager Bob Myers. Here's why. So when you look at his stats during the 2020-2021 season, they were pretty solid. 12 points per game, little more than a rebound per night as well. The creation numbers can get a little bit better, but basically what Jordan Poole is a bucket getter. But now I want to look at his numbers from March 4th to May 16th. This is when he got called back up to the Warriors after his G League stint, which happened right around the All-Star break. His numbers skyrocketed. 23.5 minutes per game, 14.7 points per night. He was shooting the ball at a pretty effective clip at 43.3%, and his three-point percentage, he was somewhat hot and cold, but 35.4% from deep is certainly respectable. Jordan Poole lived up to the expectations this year that the Warriors had for him when they drafted him in the first round out of Michigan back in 2019. But what happened? He wasn't ready at first. He was a little bit too raw. And coming out of Michigan, I think he elected to go pro maybe a little bit earlier. If he went back to the Wolverines, it might have better suited him because he was really raw and just not ready for the NBA level. Did the G League stint fuel him a little bit? From his perspective, he's probably like, wow, I just got sent down to the G League bubble. That's somewhat disrespectful. That tells me that Bob Myers and Steve Kerr didn't believe in me. But when he came back, he certainly played with a purpose and was a dynamic offensive player. And he definitely has a future role on this team, which we'll explore further here coming up. Speaking of that, should Jordan Poole be the sixth man on this Warriors team next year, even when Klay Thompson does come back? Let me know. Get your votes in the comment section. Type Y for yes, type N for no. In his postseason press conference with the media, this is what Steve Kerr had to say about Jordan Poole's future role. Quote, "He gets places most players can't get to. He's so much more than just a shooter. He's very dynamic. If we have Klay Thompson healthy, it's really fun to think about Jordan and Klay in those minutes when Steph Curry and Draymond Green are off the floor. That's very exciting." Steve Kerr continued by saying, maybe Jordan Poole, Andrew Wiggins, and Klay Thompson together on the court. Those are three guys who can score in different ways. Now you're talking about some firepower. I agree with Steve Kerr because that gives the Warriors some offensive versatility. It's one of the big reasons why Jordan Poole burst on the scene. Here is the Warriors starting lineup as of now, not factoring in any free agent moves and some of the players on the roster who were set to be free agents, and also factoring in Klay Thompson being healthy coming off the Achilles and ACL injuries. Steph Curry playing point guard, Klay Thompson at the 2, Andrew Wiggins at the 3, Draymond Green at the 4, and James Wiseman coming off the knee injury at the 5. It's a pretty legitimate starting lineup that I think could have at least won a series or two in the NBA playoffs this year if Klay was on the court. Going back to Poole, though, how does he factor into this rotation? I think really nicely as the sixth man after those five guys, and a guy who you can turn to off the bench who can fill it up, who can score very quickly, and at times can spell Steph Curry and Klay Thompson, or if you want to put him on the court with one or both of those guys, he can be a good complementary piece next to Steph, with Steph, next to Steph and Klay, or a combination of any of those scenarios. Grade that Warriors lineup for me. I think it's pretty legit. Let me know what you think. A, B, C, D, or F. I'm going to go ahead right now and say B just because of Klay Thompson's health and the uncertainty around that. But that starting lineup with Jordan Poole coming off the bench, I think we're pretty excited about what the Warriors could be next year as they try to defend and get back to an NBA championship level. Here's another thing to consider too. Jordan Poole, not only is he valuable because he can score the rock, he's also cheap. He's not going to be a restricted free agent until 2023. There's a qualifying offer after next year, but next season, Jordan Poole, with what he brings to this team, going to be making less than $4 million. Another reason why he's a valuable commodity on this Warriors roster. Warriors Today is presented and made possible today thanks to our big partner at Newsbreak. And we're doing a giveaway here on the show on Warriors Today. The first 100 people who comment whatever you want in the comment section below, you win a free download of the Newsbreak app. That's right, a free download of the Newsbreak app, and you can comment whatever you want. The Warriors are great. Let's go Dubs. Chase Sr., you're the best. Chase, I love your shirt. I will respond to those 100 comments with the download link. Use that to download the Newsbreak app. Chatsports.com/WarriorsNB will be my response to your comments. Here's why you should download it. You get on one single feed, if you enter your zip code, you stay up to date with everything that's happening in your neighborhood, San Francisco, Oakland, Monterey, any surrounding area, especially across the United States, wherever you're watching from. And on one single feed, you get your local news and weather, your politics, pop culture, and food, your sports content, but also Warriors Today content is on the Newsbreak app because we have a Warriors Today page. So, first 100 people to comment whatever you want, you win a free download of the Newsbreak app. I look forward to commenting to all of you. A big topic of conversation after this past season when the Warriors went down to the Memphis Grizzlies in the NBA play-in game, which decided the Warriors' fate of not making it to the NBA playoffs for the second consecutive year, all hovered around Draymond Green and his role with this team offensively next year. Draymond Green, at 31 years old, his game may have fallen off just a little bit over the last couple of years since the Warriors burst on the scene as title contenders, making it to 5 consecutive NBA Finals where they won 3 NBA championships. And while Draymond hasn't been the same player as he was in 2015-16, which we'll look at here in just a second, he does bring leadership to the team. He brings toughness, and he's still one of the best versatile defenders across the entire NBA. Here is my issue with Draymond Green and the issue that Steve Kerr and Bob Myers have with Draymond. He has to improve offensively next year if the Warriors have any hopes of competing for an NBA championship. You look at his numbers from 2015-16. He was truly elite because of his ability to be a legitimate, star-studded two-way player, both offensively and defensively. 2015-16, 14 points per game, 9.5 rebounds. He shot a great 49% from the floor and almost 39% from three-point range. But since then, his numbers offensively have gone down, especially his three-point percentage. Let's take a look at what he did this past year. From 14 points to 7 points. That's without Klay Thompson and Kevin Durant, so he had more opportunities to score the rock. His rebounds, still good, at north of 7. His assists per game, close to his career high at nearly 9. But his three-point percentage and his three-point attempts down drastically. That percentage, not good enough at 27%. And when he's efficient offensively, this is a completely different Warriors team. So you look at the numbers and how they've gone down somewhat over the last few years. I want to ask you this question for my Dubs homies. Are you worried about Draymond Green right now looking into the future? Type 1 for yes, type 2 for no. Get your votes in down below and let me know if you are worried about Draymond. And I don't want to come across as ripping Draymond Green because I have mad respect for him, especially the competitive fire that he possesses. And his career accolades are awfully impressive. This is a guy that is bound to go into the Basketball Hall of Fame. A 3-time NBA champion, a 3-time NBA All-Star, a guy who is elite and has been elite defensively with his ability to basically guard 1 through 5. That's why he was the Defensive Player of the Year in 2017. And in 2016, he made the All-NBA second team. But after the season, when the Warriors season came to a close, after that loss to the Grizzlies, Bob Myers, Steve Kerr, and Draymond Green got together. They had an intervention. And basically the conversation that they had as the three of them talked about Draymond having to be a little bit more aggressive and much better offensively for the Warriors to basically get back to that team that made it to 5 straight NBA Finals with Klay Thompson coming back. Here's what Steve Kerr had to say about that conversation and that intervention, so to speak. My point has always been that no matter what Draymond does, he's going to help us win, and that's the truth. He's so good defensively in passing the ball, but there's no getting around the fact that when he makes a three, makes a couple threes, gets 10 or 12 points, we are a better team. Draymond knows that, and I think the whole point going into next year is for me as Draymond's head coach and as the coach of this team to really encourage that kind of aggression, but to help that aggression. And Steve Kerr has a lot of work to do with Draymond Green, and I like how he approached the conversation that he had with Draymond as well as Bob Myers of just saying, hey, look, we've seen you do it before. We know that you are capable. But let's be honest, Draymond, you like to keep it real, you like to keep it a buck and be honest with you as well as other people. Let's be honest, your numbers have gone downhill and your offensive game has fallen off a cliff. If we want to get back to competing for NBA championships, you saw how Steph played this year, winning the NBA scoring title. It's our hope that Klay Thompson is going to be able to stay healthy for an entire season coming off the ACL and Achilles injuries. The third component of us competing for titles once again is you. And you have to be a little bit more aggressive. And I expect Draymond Green this offseason to really work on his game and come back with his hair on fire, a little bit more motivated, with his offensive game more finely tuned, and for him to just up his aggression a little bit. I still think that Draymond Green can be an elite player, especially playing alongside Steph and Klay Thompson. What do you all think? Can Draymond Green still be elite at 31 years old, given the regression that we've seen the past couple of seasons? Type D for definitely he can still be elite. Type W for you think he's washed. Make sure you subscribe to Warriors Today if you haven't already done so, because even though the Warriors season has ended, our coverage of the Golden State Warriors has not come to a close. We're going to continue to cover this team all throughout NBA free agency, all throughout the NBA draft. Who knows? Some big ticket free agents could be invested and interested in going to Golden State. And if it happens, we have you covered right here, and we continue to do fun, interactive, very compelling things on the channel. So go to youtube.com/WarriorsTV and subscribe or hit that big red button down below.